Hello, my friends. I wanted to talk today about Fallout Shelter. This might be seemingly random, but one of the newer releases of Fallout I want to talk about, Fallout 4, I'm currently unable to play as it crashes every time I start it up. So I wanted to play something that was newer Fallout that I haven't played over and over and over. So Fallout Shelter was that. And it was announced that it got a few updates recently. So I wanted to jump in and see how it is during which was the end of 2025 and the start of 2026. So, let's talk about it. Fallout Shelter during the end of 2025 became almost an entirely new game, with the announcement of seasons coming to the game among other disappointing announcements from Bethesda on Fallout Day 2025. And while myself and many others first asked the question of why? Why seasons in Fallout Shelter? And how could this possibly improve the game for players? It just seems like another way to monetize the game and get a few more bucks out of the player. So I wanted to talk about not just how the new changes that came to the game recently change it, but how it grew and evolved from its original iteration, as well as making those less familiar with this game more up to speed to see if it's something worth putting your time into, your effort into, and your money into, most importantly. I must also preface this review of sorts with the fact that I am not going to go over every update in detail, but instead highlighting the biggest changes that impacted how the game is played. Fallout Shelter came out in June 2015 on the 14th to be precise, around 5 months before Fallout 4's release on November 10th, no doubt to start the Fallout hype train before its release. But unlike the mainline series, which has gone between an ARPG style top-down or a first-person shooter with optional third-person, of course, this was a type of god game more akin to a blend of The Sims and the base expansion minigame from the excellent XCOM Enemy Unknown, but all with the signature Fallout art, style, and characters from the mainline games, all adorably made in the likeness of the famous Vault Boy. And honestly, it had a lot of things going for it. The core loop of expanding your population, customizing your base, and optimizing where certain dwellers should go based on their stat allocations was always a joy, especially to someone like me who loves to min-max in nearly any game with stats and perks to see how effective things can get. Sending dwellers out to the wasteland turns the game into a mini text adventure with any dweller, as you can see what they are up to with updates written from the perspective of the dweller that you send out, which can be something that I myself do enjoy watching from time to time while playing. And while adventuring out in the wasteland, they can come across locations that you can choose to explore and turn more into a mini dungeon crawler quest. These have you leading your dweller from room to room, making sure they are kept healthy with stims and rat-away, if need be, all while clicking or tapping on anything shiny to collect junk, weapons, outfits, or even pets that can give you different modifiers, and even blueprints for crafting weapons, outfits, and room themes as of update version 1.4. Or just to collect more caps, the reigning currency of the Fallout universe, and your main source to dip into in order to build and upgrade your rooms. They will then be returned to you and used in your shelter to help further your base's growth and your dweller customization. Multi-step quests can also be chosen from a list of available quests which have their own prerequisites and predetermined rewards. But it's up to you to pick a team and the outfit and supplies with them to help raise their chance of success. Depth of the game was even further enhanced by the dweller customization, with outfits contributing to certain stats for them and making them more effective in the job that they are assigned, making getting resources even faster. And of course, giving your dwellers a way to defend themselves is paramount, doubly so for when raiders or even deathclaws later in your game come knocking at your door. There was really no pay to win with the game at release. Everything could be earned in game, even if they were rare or took a lot of time to acquire. But these were things like Mr. Handies that can help defend your base and collect resources for you, and lunchboxes, the loot box style prize that dropped a random assortment of items and dwellers if you were lucky. Now that's fundamentally how you experience this game, and while myself and others enjoyed this game quite a lot, it suffered in a few key areas. It had a lot of bugs, sound being seemingly turned off no matter how high you set it being a common one, as well as other less consequential bugs like characters clipping through each other and the environment, freezing of either the game or individual characters, that sort of thing. Pretty par for the course for a Bethesda title, honestly. It was only really also good for a short burst of play every now and again, as one of your types of currency is time, like waiting sometimes upward of 10 hours for a dweller or team of dwellers to reach a quest location. And the same applies to sending dwellers out to the wasteland, which the longer you leave them to explore, the more that they will find. Just make sure that you send them with plenty of stims and rataway and a good weapon to survive, or he'll be spending the caps to resuscitate them. But the biggest complaint, and maybe the thing that hurt the game the most, was the lack of endgame once you got there. While bugs can be forgiven in some situations, especially a lot of Bethesda's cases, the nail in the coffin for the long-term success of the game and player retention, one of the most important aspects of these type of mobile live service games, was that there was simply little reason to keep playing after you had built every room and optimized your base for basically being self-sustaining. What has changed? Rather quickly after release on July 14th, a month after its release, Bethesda added Nuka-Cola Quantum to the list of things you could purchase with real money from their in-game store. And since it was pretty obvious that they waited until after the review period to drop these on everybody, people were very mixed, but mostly negative from what I could gather looking back. After being praised for not being pay to win, this honestly felt like the first step to being just that, in my opinion. And that is because Nuka-Cola Quantum was and still is used as a time saver. And while that doesn't sound bad on paper, realizing the sheer amount of things that you must wait for in this game changes that perspective when you realize of what can be fast-tracked. Anything from waiting for returning dwellers from their wasteland, dwellers heading out on quests, working to increase their stats in training rooms, crafting weapons, outfits, and themes for your shelter. Quantum lets you fast track all of that if you fork over a few bucks. And if you got the opportunity to acquire some in-game, it wasn't ever enough to make it feel like it had any tangible difference on how fast you were progressing in the grand scheme of the game. But I am not as hard on these now as you may think I might be after saying all of that. That's because mostly over time, there have been more ways to earn Quantum in the game, and you can receive slightly more of it while playing it than you could previously. This is also applied to other purchases in the store like Mr. Handy's, lunchboxes, and pet carriers, all of which I was able to earn more of recently. All of this had, from what I can tell, price decreases and have been mostly bundled up in large quantities rather than to be purchased individually, so that you felt like they were kind of nickel and diming you whenever you felt like you weren't making enough progress. And although Nuka-Cola Quantum is still wildly overpriced, there have been other changes in the recent update to help you get even more Quantum. The bulk of these changes and others came in this new Seasons update, which is only available from the Experimental Vaults option from the main menu. And it has changed how you play the game, mostly letting you feel like it's okay to stick with the free version. For starters, the buy-in for the Season Pass is standard fare. You can purchase the normal Season Pass for $10, or you can buy the Premium Pass for $20, and that comes with extra goodies. An exclusive dweller with an outfit, bonus pets, outfits and weapons, like more outfits and weapons, I should say, as well as 25 badges to gain season ranks instantly. Badges being the primary source of currency for moving your way up through the Season Pass, and you get those by completing challenges which were handed out every week or so. But for the purposes of seeing what the game is like at base with the Season Pass, I passed on the premium and went just for the regular one, which landed me many very cool items, I will say. More Mr. Handy's, legendary characters, outfits from the show, new powerful weapons, and a ton of other cool stuff to take along my journey as a Vault Overseer. But to my surprise, there are still worthwhile rewards that can be acquired through the free track on the Season Pass. You can get bonus caps, lunch boxes, outfits, and Mr. Handy's all for free. And this is on top of the new leaderboard system that assigns you a score based on different factors like how many dwellers you have, how many rooms you've built, how many base raids you fought off, and generally how effective you've been at running your base. and at different intervals when gaining score, there are even more rewards waiting, which consist of more lunchboxes, more Mr. Handies, caps, and even 25 Nuka-Cola Quantum bonus at the top end. This all made my playthrough of the game much funner experience, as I had something to really work for in the mid-game area. And I truly felt like I was engaging fully with a lot of the game's systems more and faster than I could before. Along with having more items and things to use that I had earned through many lunchboxes I had opened, which meant more dwellers, including getting more legendary ones than I ever had, and having more options for weapons and outfits. But what really makes this season, for me at least, is how it relates to the game and the theme of the season. For the first season, the Fallout TV show has been the spotlight, and in case you didn't know, it's all about New Vegas. So there is a new look to the Wasteland section of your shelter to reflect its new location, as well as having a bunch of new quests that are based in the New Vegas areas, and even new enemies and characters to earn from the game and show. The headliners of which are Lucy, the ghoul, and his dog, and of course Maximus, all which are legendary and basically served as my quest team in one way or another with their high stats and good weapons. There's also been a new addition to the currencies in a way, but in the positive side of things. Over time you will get free gambling chips, but no worry here, as they can only be earned in-game through different quests and given away after a set amount of hours. These can then be used to spin the roulette wheel just like you can in New Vegas, and this has many potential rewards, from basic things like caps, stims, and rataway, but it also gives you the rewards like new rare and legendary weapons, outfits, and even dwellers. And I found it to be pretty rewarding too, as more often than not, I got new items and dwellers rather than resources. And in the time of writing this, I've gotten 21 legendary dwellers as of popping the 20 legendary dwellers achievement that I earned, and I got another one soon after, with only 2 being duplicates of Lucy and Maximus. There is something to note though about this whole season's thing. The experimental vault does leave at the end of the season and is inaccessible once the season ends. And at first that had me at major pause, as that was very worrying and annoying to me because I put all this work into the vault. However, you can redeem all of your season pass goodies on the normal survival mode if you want to make a vault there, and basically just redeem all your stuff from every experimental vault that comes out every season on that same vault. Things that are unavailable in this mode are things like the leaderboard, which you do lack the ability to get an extra Mr. Handy and some of the caps and things like that for the roulette wheel, which does not exist outside of the experimental vault. Another thing that I did notice is that there are no character quests like there were in the experimental vault for getting Lucy, the ghoul, and Maximus and their dog. Rather than have those in the survival one, they opted to just kind of give them in randomness with the lunch boxes that you earn, so you can still get those characters, but it's gonna have to take a little bit more luck in the normal game. So those are definitely things worth bearing in mind if you want to put the time into doing an experimental vault. I still feel it was a very fun experience to make my experimental vault and go through all the steps and grow it and use the season, the leaderboards and all that. But if you don't really plan on playing this long term, just as like kind of a side thing, I can see how this is kind of a deal breaker, just having your vault that you put so much time into just disappear at the end of the season. But like I said, having the stuff from there being transferable is kind of nice, because I'm willing to bet that you can just keep that main vault, and each season that you do play on the experimental vault and unlock all those things, you will still be able to redeem all those in the normal game and stack those one on top of the other to your other vault. So that could be definitely worth doing. Now, as for how I feel about Fallout Shelter as a whole now, as opposed to when it came out, I do feel like it's a much better game. And I surprisingly thought that the season's update did improve the game in a number of ways. It's not just an update for the players that want to fork over the cash, but an experience that rewards you as a player in more ways than it did before for free. And all of this without me feeling like I should just buy one more thing in order to get a leg up on my situation and progress my game. The new theme was pretty great to have as well, letting it feel a little bit more like a new experience than any other update has before. I enjoyed a lot of the quests that they added to the game, and generally it's nice to have a totally new feel to the game as before when it kind of got stagnant. So I do think nowadays I can recommend giving Fallout Shelter a try, especially since there's just so much to earn for free, and I think there is not a lot to be sacrificed. It still has to be kind of played in bursts and does lack here or there, but it's generally a better game than it was before, and I think it's more worth your time. That is all for this video. It's a bit of a longer one, which is kind of funny for a smaller game than I usually cover, but there was a lot to cover in this. For being as small as it is, there's a lot of aspects to this game, and I have caught myself just popping in every now and again to play it, even after I had finished, what I wanted to even review and talk about this game. And of course, I have more projects on the way, especially the project I had mentioned in the What's the Tea episode before, Dead Rising. That one in particular might take me a minute because I do want to make sure that one gets done perfect, because I want to do that review justice specifically because I love Dead Rising so much. So be on the lookout for when that little retrospective and review mix of a video comes out in the near future, as well as other things that I have completed from my backlog and other things that are coming up in the future. Like this video if you found anything informative or even just enjoyed hearing about the changes to the game. And if you would like, comment down below. Let's start a conversation on whether you thought this game was worth it at the start, how you feel about it now, or if you're even going to give it a try. As always, been Havoc Fanatic. I will talk to you all later. Peace.